Should you be investing in the new tin packs or should you be investing in illustration boxes? That's what we'll be talking about in today's video. Most people like to invest in booster boxes, but the question has kind of come up as new volumes for both tins and also collection boxes have come out. People are bringing up the question, is it worth picking these up? And that's what I'll be talking about in today's video. With some data, we can look at the earlier boxes and how they've performed and generally the pros and cons of everything. So without further ado, let's begin. Alrighty, so with no beating around the bush whatsoever, let's firstly identify why are we buying this and why are we considering buying it. The reason is it's easier to come by. That's the exact reason. If these were just as available as booster boxes, I guarantee you no one would care about these. The only reason why people are questioning on whether it's worth buying these or whether it's worth buying these illustration collection boxes is because they are easier to come by. Generally, if there's an easier entry, then people will consider, is this worth grabbing? But the problem is that's a bit of a double-edged sword, because what you're doing is you're looking at an item that has less demand, but you're trying to say, hey, will this have demand in the future? It's like, well, hang on, we can already see it's off to a bad start if it's more accessible than booster boxes, because right now One Piece is really hot. If something's actually available, that usually means it's not really the best product. So, I'm just going to start with that. I'm going to let you marinate on that while I continue in this video. I'm going to firstly go ahead and just compare some older items. So we have this illustration box and it goes for about 60 USD. So it's actually relatively cheap. It has 4 booster packs inside, 2 OP13 and 2 PRBO2. That's a pretty good selection. Now, because they are in collection boxes, they actually would have they would have a little bit of a premium versus just loose packs. Loose packs, as we know, can be weighed, mapped, and everything in between. But with loose packs inside of collection boxes, it is a little bit different. So it's actually pretty good value. It's about $15 a pack plus a couple promos. Say the promos are like $5 in value, so it's like probably $13.50 a pack, about to that range. So it's actually pretty decent value for booster pack wise. But you've got to ask, what is the liquidity side of it? This is something that a lot of people don't think about. So first of all, let's just quickly see the appreciation. So this is the first collection box. It had 2 waifus, so perhaps it's a bit of a one-hit wonder and we'll never get collection boxes as good as this in the future. But this has some horse crap booster packs. It has 2 Legends booster packs and it has 2 Wings of the Captain booster packs. Both sets aren't really that popular. So you can clearly see it is mostly being carried by the scarcity plus the promos. So you can see that it was about $31, then it raised to about $40, and now it's jumped up all the way to $200. So this has gone up a pretty substantial amount, north of about a 5-ish X, which is pretty solid nonetheless. And that's definitely something that is, definitely quite attractive to buy. If you can make a 5X on your money on something, that's great. That's awesome. But we need to also talk about the liquidity side of it. Okay, so let's just say that this collection box is going to be the same price as this collection box. Now, I believe this collection box came out in 2025, I believe. It's more or less a recent thing. So let's just say that this in a year's time goes from $60 to $200. After all, the promos aren't really as good, but the booster packs are pretty solid. Well, the thing is, $60 to $200 is a little over a 3x in return. But the problem is you need to look in the same time frame. Something like OP05, it went from 170 to 1100, which is over the return of something like this. So not only you're actually making less of a return, but it's harder to liquidate. You're going to have a hard time liquidating this. If you have 5, 10, 20, 30, 100 bucks of this, you're going to have difficulty liquidating this. And this is something I get comments on a lot where people say like, oh yeah, but I don't plan to sell for 5 years time. You're going to have an even more difficult time to sell it. People say, oh yeah, well I plan to hold for half a decade or a decade or however long. It's like, you do understand the longer that you hold it for, the more expensive it becomes. But the thing is, because it's not really a booster box, you're going to have a difficult time selling it. When you get to things from like Magic of the Gathering, or if you get to things from like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon or Dragon Ball Z, if you have things that are like 10 plus years old and it's like a random collection box, they're really difficult to move. They're not easy to move. These type of items are not liquid at all. So the liquidity side of it is really, really bad. And you need to understand that if it's not really that liquid, it also struggles to go up. I think this is something a lot of people don't really realize, is that items go up because there's a surge in demand. Yes, a lot of time the box can actually go up even if the supply remains, even if the demand remains the same because the supply decreases as boxes get opened up. Sure, but most of the reason why a box goes up is because the demand actually increases. But the problem is, if the demand increases, then that means that there's liquidity. That means there's currently a lot of active buyers. But if there's no liquidity in an item, meaning it's really hard to sell, that also means it won't really go up a lot. EBO1 is a good example. EBO1 wasn't really that liquid when it came out. No one really wanted it. It was only when it picked up demand when it went up. So it's like, if you're holding an item that isn't really that liquid of an item, you're going to have difficulty selling it. But the thing is, even if you plan to sell it in 5 years time, not only going to have difficulty selling it, but if an item doesn't have a lot of demand, then that means it's just simply not going to go up a lot in value. So I'm going to be real with you. I don't actually think that this collection box is going to make the same returns as this, but let's just say that it does. Let's just say it goes to $200, which is great. The thing is, if you buy something like OP14, you're probably going to make similar returns anyways, or maybe some more similar returns. When this hits $200, OP14 will probably be a $600 box. I think that's quite probable. I feel like that's definitely a possibility. But then on top of it, you look at something like OP05 and it's like, dude, this thing was $190, $178. Meanwhile, when this was $30, the difference is that OP5 was always a good set. From day one, even on pre-order, it was always been considered a good set. So it's not like if you bought this, you're like a unicorn and it was like a Black Swan event. No, it was literally like the most obvious play in One Piece. OP05 was just such a killer set. So the thing is, it's not like there was this random guesswork and this is like a really stretched analogy. Like, no, you're facing the most niche, weird item against the most obvious play with a serious amount of demand. And this is $180 while it was still in print. It still is in print, but the thing is, dude, OPR5, $180, that's above MSRP. Like, this item was already expensive when this item was dirt cheap. So it's not like you're facing this item against something like EBO1, where it was like a really cheap item for a very long time and like no one really wanted it, but then because no one wanted it, they didn't really do much printing and what was available wasn't really much, so now it's really rare, right? No, it's like OPR5 got fat reprints. There's almost 1,000 PSA 10 Gear 5 Luffy's. It's a pretty popular and very available card. Considering the fact there's 3 mangas, it has the same pop as some sets where there's only 1 manga. That's how much they printed OPO5. You've got to remember, they literally, it was like $330 when OPO5 came out, and they did such a fat reprint, it tanked it all the way down to $130 later in 2024 or 2025. No, 2024. And so the thing is, there should be so many things stacked up against OPO5, but for such an obvious play that was already so expensive, and this has outperformed this item here, I'm not buying it, man. I don't think it's worth buying these boxes at all. So that's the illustration boxes kind of covered. I think I've definitely proven my case here on why I don't think it's worth grabbing. But then what about these tins here? You see, these tins are $40, but they have really, really nice promos inside. I'll see if I can show you. Oh, I can just show you this listing here. They have really, really nice promos. You can see these are good looking promos. So you've got to ask yourself, perhaps these are worth it. Maybe as a pair. The answer is maybe. I just don't know if they will be worth a lot in the future. But then you've also got to think, let's just say you want to drop 10k on One Piece, right? If you want to drop 10k on One Piece, you can just buy 9 OPO5 boxes. If you want to drop 10k, you can just buy 9 OPO5 boxes. Speaking of, if you are planning to pick up anything that's on eBay or TCGPlayer, before you make your purchase, please do consider just using my affiliate link. All you do is just click the link before you make a purchase. It basically just gives me a small kickback. It doesn't cost you anything extra. Helps support the channel out a lot. So you just click the link, whether it takes you to the website or the app. Within 24 hours of clicking the link, I get a kickback of any purchase you make. So I appreciate everyone who does that. But the thing is, you got to think, if you want to invest 10k into One Piece, you can buy one OPO1 white bottom and blue bottom, and that's 10k. Or you can buy 9 OPO5s, or you can buy 13, 14 OP13s. Or you need to buy hundreds of these dudes. If you spend $400, you get 10 of these. You spend $4,000, you get 100. You need to buy like 250 of these tins to spend 10K. It's like, dude, that's really a stretch. I mean, good luck selling 250 of these. It would take you months, maybe even years to sell 250. It would be hell on earth selling that many. It would be so difficult. So the liquidity isn't there, and I don't see these realistically appreciating a lot. Now, I will say they do have OP13 packs. They do have 2, which is pretty solid. Having 2 OP13 packs, having a promo inside is pretty neat, but nonetheless, the promos, I wouldn't really expect them to be very expensive. Obviously, they're expensive now because there's hype around this tin because it pretty much just came out. But when this is, really like, when it's been here for a good while, is the promo realistically going to stick out? Probably not. Are people realistically going to desire this tin? It's quite unlikely. I feel like and it being a tin just complicates it, because if someone wants OP13, if they search up OP13 on eBay or on Google, these tins aren't going to pop up. They're only going to pop up if you know what they are, and then you know they have OP13, and then great. But the thing is, it's like, if someone wants to crack a little bit of OP13, they'll just buy blisters. They won't buy these. And the only argument I can realistically see for these is that you can weigh blisters, and you can, I believe, scan them or do something like that. Oh, actually, I don't think you can scan them now, but you can weigh them. The only argument I can see is you can't weigh these, but I think that is just a little bit of a stretch. Like, I feel like that's kind of pushing it, especially the fact that, like, sealed cases exist for blisters. So, I don't know. I feel like it is a little bit of a stretch. That's, like, the only realistic benefit I can realistically think of these. But I think it's just too niche of an item. I think it's such a forgettable item. We have this tons of times in Pokemon. In One Piece is very new, so I can't really think of any examples for it. But there's a lot of time there'll be like a really niche item that comes out. When it comes out, people are always debating like, oh, I wonder if this is going to be a good item. Maybe this will be like an underrated item people will want to buy in 5 years' time. But it's like, yeah, but like every 3 months, there's some niche item that gets released. They're so forgettable. People will forget them in 2 years' time and no one will care, and they'll just be dead in the water. Now, because this does have OP13 packs, it won't be dead in the water, but I would probably assume it's just going to pretty much match OP13 packs plus a little bit more for the promo, and that's realistically it. Whereas the booster box actually has a premium because it's sealed. Booster box is like $6.50. It's absolutely horrible price per pack, but you are buying into the premium, you are buying into the liquidity, and you are buying into most likely going to be the highest appreciating item. So, well, of OP13. Like, somewhat. It might not appreciate more on blisters, but you do have the liquidity, ease of storage, and all these other benefits that come with OP13. So, yeah, that's just kind of my thoughts there, especially with this tin here. So, yeah, I'm going to be real with you. No, I don't think it's worth buying. I've seen scalpers being able to buy these, and for the record, I'm not like shading anybody, I don't really care, but I've seen scalpers buy these, and then they say to me like, hey, I'm thinking about selling these, should I just sell them, or should I wait for them to go up? And it's like, dude, if I were you, I would probably just sell all of these. I don't know what the retail is, I think it was like $25, $30, about that range. Yeah, I think it's about that range, so you're about 2x on your money. So it's like, I would just sell it and then just buy booster boxes if I were you. I mean, especially if you can like do a trade, maybe if someone wants to trade a booster box for 10 of these, at least like your cost is kind of cheaper on the box, depending on how you like to like put in how much you've paid for the box. But yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of my thoughts there. I don't really think it's worth buying these really niche items. They can very easily get damaged. It's a very niche item. If people want OP13, they'll just buy blisters or a box. If people want PRBR2, they'll just buy blisters or a box. If people want those promos, they'll just buy the promos on their own. You're going to have to sell everything at like a discount if you're selling the actual box, because there's a fan base for every single item, but they'll just go ahead and buy that item on their own. You're getting the absolute worst value if you're selling the collection box itself or holding the collection box. I think it's better to just hold a bit of PRBO1 and then a bit of OP13 rather than holding this collection box. So that is just my opinion there, and it goes for all of them. That's just honestly my opinion there. Maybe this does do a little bit better because it has OP13 and PRBO2, but 2 packs of OP13 isn't really going to cut it. It's not really a lot. That's not enough to carry this, in my opinion. I think it's going to take a good while for this to like realistically get some momentum. So yeah, that's just my opinion there. But that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.